Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to FTB Interactions. So today we're going to be picking back up with some thaumcraft work. A couple things I did do between episodes. Of course, I didn't get as much done as I would have liked to, but hey, that's the name of the game. I had a headache on Tuesday, and my birthday was on Wednesday, so I just didn't get a ton done. But one thing I did get done is I started working down here, and it's not totally done yet. I'm still adding some stuff, but just as kind of some examples, I started delving into a bit of little tiles, and we're actually going to be doing some of this stuff on camera. And I've got this rotten flesh on me because occasionally I'll get a natural hunger, so I do need that to deal with the unnatural hunger debuff from thaumcraft. Originally, I actually had the snow as chisels and bits, or little tiles, but then I changed it because I didn't like the way it turned out visually, so I just scrapped that whole thing and then went with the just the snow, which is of course just the standard Minecraft snow layered, because you can stack them for different elevations, you know. So I went with that through here. We will still do some little tile snow maybe up in here. That's kind of worked its way through that little entrance and up into this, just kind of just little bits of snow, because this area, of course, it's meant to be cold, right? And it's supposed to be like a really cold, chilly type area, so we're going to have a lot of ice kind of that's started to form on the walls, and snow and things like that around through here. And on that note, actually, something really cool, Rick Kruthoff, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, brought up in the comments, and this is something I hadn't really thought about until you know, he brought it up in the comments for the last episode, or the last actual episode, the last thaumcraft episode that we did. Brought it up, and it's a really cool observation. He brought up that the base, this area down in here, and then you know, the base in general, where it's kind of set in this like snowy mountain area, and then there's like this like arcane area down beneath here and everything. It brought up that it reminded him of At the Mountains of Madness, of course, by Lovecraft, you know, and which is, if you've never given it a read, highly suggest it. One of Lovecraft's best works, though. You know, I can't think of really any that I don't like from Lovecraft, but brought up that the base really reminded him of At the Mountains of Madness, and so it gave me some ideas. We're going to kind of play on that angle, I think. It's not my idea, but after he brought that up, it's like, oh yeah, that's actually a really cool idea, an observation for the base. So especially as we work down here in the thaumcraft and blood magic areas, we might bring some ideas that have stemmed from that into the field. So we'll see. But yeah, I really like that idea. But so we are going to play on that angle to some degree. But and then, like I said, once we get the peace candles, we're going to open this up and kind of have this connect outside. So this area is going to be really snowed over and icy. Of course, this is all going to be interior, and it's going to kind of open up out here. So you can see where the snow is starting to progressively kind of pile up, and it's going to get deeper, you know, the farther out you get to the outside area where the snow and this cold is just blowing in, you know, into this area. So, and then as you go through the base, I'm planning on having like ice hanging down in different areas. And actually, let me throw this into here, which, funny story, and just something I want to bring up. If you are going to do the little tile stuff, and you want to chisel it, this is what I did, is I just made the little chisel with the architect's chisel, which you can just EMC that from the chisel, and then I chiseled it, but all this stuff showed up. At first, it showed up invisible. It's still there. You can still click on it. It just doesn't render for some reason whenever you go to chisel the architect's chisel. So just a heads up, it is there, and then once you chisel it for the first time, you can actually pull it up and see, you know, for example, if I open this up and I throw that in there, I can see this, but whenever you first put the architect's chisel in there, it's all invisible. So if you just click here, for example, and then you can chisel, you can actually visually see it then and chisel what you need from that. So But yeah, so that was the main thing, and then I also grinded up some more wheel, and then I finished the arcane pedestals, and I crafted some more labels and just little things like that around the base. But oh, and then I did research. I did a bunch of research. Well, a bit of research. And let me pop over here, which we're actually probably at this point, we're probably about done with research for now. The reason being is because we are going to do a little bit of research today, which we'll get into. But I think we're probably done with research until we get the creative Thaumanomicon. I mean, there's some other things here that are really nice, like the Fortress armor is really, really good armor. We might push on to that here soon. We'll see. But the main thing that I wanted was a lot of this alchemy stuff. You can see I've almost got alchemy 100%. The only thing I don't have in here is bottled taint and the void metal essentia smelter, which we can't make void metal yet, so I can't do that research at present. But you can see I'm 95% through alchemy at the moment. So, and then I've got a bit of the Golemancy stuff done. Eldritch, I did get this, but that was actually, I don't really know why I even unlocked that. I have the theories on Eldritch, but you can see my knowledge totals in here. So I don't have a whole lot of much of anything, but I have a bit of Artifice and a bit of Eldritch somehow. I did the freeway for research, where you don't have to use a lot of materials, where instead you just play off of the free things, and which I actually took all the paper out of here to make labels. But you kind of just build on. By the way, this glyph stone from Thaumcraft does count as a theory. I haven't actually used it too much. I think it's Eldritch, I think is what it would be, because it does kind of, I mean, it kind of is meant to come from the Eldritch dimension, I believe. That's why you can't normally obtain this, you know, outside of custom recipes and custom dungeons, stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure it probably ties into Eldritch, but I'm not 100% sure. But if I had to guess, that would be the one that I would bank my money on. So, but honestly, I don't think we'll do too much more until we get the creative Thaumanomicon. The workbench charger, we might do this. So I just need to get a theory in Aromancy, which I really don't know how I don't have a theory in Aromancy. I guess I've spent them because I know I got a lot of Aromancy, because it's a common one that you get that doesn't take any kind of input. You can see I did I move them? Or maybe I spent them, but I've got like a clock in here and some clay, things that I was using for research. I had piston down here, but maybe I used that on something that consumed it. But I tend to like going with the free method, where, you know, there's more efficient ways to do it, but I don't have to use a bunch of item inputs doing the free method. So also, I got the wheel capped out in this, and when I was grinding wheel, actually, which I'm not going to run all the way up there, but I actually managed to, it dropped from a mob, and I got an Infinity Booster card from AE2 wireless terminals. So, I mean, they don't seem terribly expensive, not, you know, once we get into AE2, it's not something that would be out of our reach, but it was kind of a cool little surprise that one dropped, you know, just grinding wheel. So I was pretty happy about that. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into what we're going to be doing. Also, I wanted to show you, I did find the infusion stuff. Ancient stone, there's also one for the no, is it the glyph stone? There's another one I remember, and I think it might be for the glyph stone. But anyways, it's after the infusion boosting blocks, and you can actually make pedestals, and you can also do the infusion using ancient stone. We don't have the V in our chunk. Well, actually, I guess technically, do we or don't we? I was thinking we had 148 was our cap at the moment, which we could always boost that. That wouldn't be a problem. We have 156, so technically it would be craftable. But the only thing is, well, the infusion, if you do this infusion, it increases stability slightly, but it reduces cost. But now the ancient pedestals, I'm not for sure, because it just says they help reduce essentia cost. I'm not for sure if that's all they do, if they don't increase instability or not. I'm not 100% sure. But these will actually make the cost on essentia cheaper. So this is something to bear in mind. You can go with this. And here in due time, once we get into the stabilizers, we will upgrade to this. So we have a lower essentia cost than than the default. You know, using that we can get away with, like, for example, well, that's with alchemy. But for example, like, let's say the common Tartaric gem, this may cost, like, say 16 potentia or 15 potentia or something, instead of 18 if we had the infusion set up. Maybe even less than that. So this will be my first time setting those up, because normally, of course, they're unobtainable because, you know, they're just not available to us. But we'll see. So we will make some changes to that. But anyways, the very first thing I want to do is I want to work on getting our Nacre set up. Basically for blood magic more than anything. Thaumcraft doesn't use it as much, really. But I've got some things laid out. I've actually had these things laid out since the last episode, but we didn't get into this. So I've got redstone conduits, and apparently we got a quest completed right here. So we've made everything except for the ender fluid conduit that's on the little conduit quest line. And then next up we have a fluid collector from Actually Additions. We're going to be going with these over the dispenser. The dispenser's nice, but it also, it's so Dark Ages, you know, and so that way we don't have to cycle a bucket and control all of that. We can use the fluid collector from Actually Additions to collect our fluids, and there's a trick to that for basically using it, because by default the fluid collector does not filter fluids. Like, this is the UI, is look, I have fluids, is really all that there is to it. But I'm going to show you a trick to making it so that you can filter your fluid collector so that it only picks up specific liquids. And then right here I have a sequencer, which I had to make some machine bases. These are just steel plates and electrum wires through an assembler, so very, very cheap. But a sequencer from RF Tools, which, you know, I've used these before, I've covered them before. They're quite useful. And then I've also got a sensor from RF Tools. Now this, basically what it's going to do is it's going to detect blocks. And I've actually covered both of these in liquid setups before. But there is a couple other ways that you can go about this. There is the, yeah, there's this one here that you can make. It's a little bit cheaper, I guess. I mean, sort of. I mean, it's not like the sensor's very expensive either. This one does work. Of course, I don't tend to like using stuff from Extra Utilities if I can avoid it, because Extra Utilities is just very outdated. It tends to have a lot of bugs, so I just don't trust it in general when I can avoid it. So I like the sensor a bit more than the scanner myself. But, you know, and then there's also, there's probably a couple other methods that I'm not thinking of right now. There's also an iron dropper from Random Things. We're going to go ahead and grab that. And this is basically just a dropper for us to use. And then what we have to do is we have to craft a couple things to get the last components that we need. First up, we're going to need a control seal. And I want the one for empty. Okay, which takes 10 vacuos. And then we're going to need a blank seal, which is clay, magic tallow, any kind of red dye, and any kind of nitor. And magic tallow is rotten flesh with some ignis. And so what we're going to do, actually, let's pop over, and we're going to cover a little bit of alchemy. We'll get into more of this. Let's see, there's 4 of them, and then there was like 2 over here. Yeah, right there. So I've got 6 thaumatoriums from Thaumcraft. Yeah, there's my Infinity Booster card. And by the way, this sword with looting 5 grinds wheel crazy fast. Like, there was some kills as I got close to, you know, the 1,000 mark. I noticed that there was kills that I could have sworn I only killed 1 mob, and I got almost 100 wheel in a single kill. It was insane. Like, looting 5 is just, it's a monster. I don't know why I'm going down here. It's very, very good. So, but let's pop over and let's set up. This is going to be a lot of our alchemy area here. And for right now, I'm just going to run stone down through here for the time being. And then, yeah, this will work out well. So I'm going to put down a thaumatorium right there, which it spawned invisible. Okay, so we got an alchemical construct. That's another alchemical construct. We're going to go ahead and just turn these into alchemical constructs because they're not spawning as thaumatoriums, which is fine. And then what we can do is, now that I have the research for this, if we open up Alchemy, Alchemical Automation, you could say this is the setup that we need. We need 2 alchemical constructs and a crucible. And I'm actually going to steal the crucible that's down here in our little study area for now, I guess. Is that what I want to do? I think I used the other one for something, so I think this is the only one I've got like available right this second. Because I think I used it for a Cincha smeltery. Okay. We'll just pop up here. We'll drop that down. And then our alchemical construct. Alchemical construct. And then we need some Salus Mundus, which I've got some somewhere. I think I've got like 1 or 2 pieces left. Alright, it's in my backpack. I gotta get those backpacks dumped out. I just haven't been out exploring really lately. I mean, I went and killed some mobs for wheel, but that was, you know, it wasn't really exploring. So, but then what we're going to do is just right click this and we'll give it a second and it's going to convert into the actual thaumatorium. So there we go. And now what we're going to do is I need, well, I need an Essentia pipe or some Essentia pipes. Which a lot of this setup is going to change here soon enough because we're going to be moving into thaumic energistics. And it's next room over. I'll just grab these. We're going to be moving into thaumic energistics. And once we hit thaumic energistics, you know, life's going to be a whole lot easier for us. And then let's grab our Ignis. And then I wanted the control seal empty. Just this one, and it also takes some vacuos. So let me grab, and I actually have just enough vacuos. That's awesome. And so what we're going to do is let's attach that, and then we're going to put our Ignis jar just right down here. And then I've got plenty of this tallow, or rotten flesh, so I'm just going to throw in that and just start crafting magic tallow, which it is going to, oh, maybe I have to shift this up. Let me set this here. And actually, I should probably go get a chest before I connect that up. And the reason being, I'll show you why. But basically, just it chucks out items. You know, I did a little setup in Enigmatica just basically for looks, where I had the golems picking up the items and stuff. But we can just use a chest as well to collect the items that come from the thaumatoriums. Long term, we're probably going to have golems again just because they look better. I don't really like the chest sticking on the front of the thaumatorium. I'd rather have some kind of vacuum collection, be it golems or whatever. But if we put this right here, this is where the items output from, and we put our Essentia tube. You know what? I totally derped. This does work. The reason it's not working is... Oh my god. Okay. Let me pop down here. Let me grab a piece of night ore. Yeah. Basically, I just forgot the heat source. The alchemy setups, like, they will need a heat source, so don't forget about that. For some reason, I actually forget about it a lot, and I don't know why. It's been the same way forever. Okay, so now it's running. You can see there's Essentia being pulled in, and it's taking the rotten flesh, and then it's dumping the magic tallow in this chest. So yeah, it's working. Okay, so now we've got that being created, and then the next thing that I want to do is we're going to need to get the control seal, and this is clay, red dye, night ore, and you get 2 of them. Okay, so this should be everything. It takes, we've got a 5% discount on V at the moment. Of course, that's because of our goggles of revealing. So, and I don't know if the bug still exists, but in the past you were able to put on goggles of revealing here and then do goggles revealing here, and you get a 10% chance in addition to making the armor. Of course, in this version, you know, before in thaumcraft, the V discount was very, very important. Nowadays, V discount's not really, I don't think anyways, it's not really all that important unless you just don't have the V available to craft something. But there's easier ways to manage it, I think, than changing up, you know, an armor set or whatever. Oh, it makes 3? I thought it said it made 2. No, it makes 3. Okay. Anyways, there's 3 blank seals. And we are going to be using these as well because now we're at the point where we could technically start into golems and get golems up and going. And so we are going to be doing that before too long and making use of those guys. But not just yet. Not just yet, but we will be soon. Because they can actually perform a lot of tasks for us that otherwise would be a little bit more expensive to set up, because once you get to this point, golems really aren't expensive to do once we get a golem table and everything. And then we're going to put our vacuous jar there, and we're going to add in our blank seal, and we want the empty one. There we go, and it's going to start crafting. There we go. We'll go ahead and unselect that. Okay, and pick that up, and I'm just going to put this in here for now, because that would be where we'd be using it, because, you know, you have to make a change to it for it to be useful. The control seals on their own, they don't do anything. You have to actually upgrade them to do something, right? Okay, so now that we've got that, we can get one of the last components, even though there is one other thing that I'm going to have to get real quick, and I'll get that together. Most of which we've already got together for that. But if we take our control seal empty, we put it right there, we're going to get an auto placer from Actually Additions. And then we can upgrade this. And you can see this is just portable tank, electric pump, robot arm, empty machine hall. Not very expensive for us at this point. But we can take our auto placer, combine it with a couple buckets, and we get a fluid placer from Actually Additions. So there we go. And finally all those recipes are out of the way. Because between episodes it's like, oh my gosh, I need a crafting table. And I have to go find one because most of this was being used. Okay, now that we've got that, the last thing that we're going to want is our node router, our input node, output node, and what do we need for the master node? Okay, we need pig iron plates, steel plates, reinforced slate. Okay, let me get this together because we do have 1 mana diamond left, so I'll get some use out of that one. And this is all done through the luminous crafting table. Okay, I'll be back here in just a second. Okay, I got that. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get ourselves a couple frame parts to use with our nodes. And of course these are made in the Hellfire Forge now that we have enough wheel for this. So blank slates, stone, and glass. And we're going to get that running. And then what we're going to be making is called the fluid filter. This right here. So we're going to need to get ourselves some buckets and some sticks. And then our frame parts. So let me get that together real quick. Okay, we should be all set now. And let's head down. I think I've got everything that I need at this point. And we're going to be setting this up right behind here. Of course, right here is our tank with mana in it. And we are going to have to get some gold nuggets as well, but we'll get those here in just a minute. And right now the gold nuggets, they're not going to stay auto-stocked because it's really not that important, because just having the Nacre creation side of things is the most important. And then later on we'll have, we'll set up something. I mean, it could even just be a node that sends the gold nuggets down. But for right now I'm just going to manually input them because that part doesn't actually matter to me. As much as just having this process automatic. And so what we're going to be doing is, and I'm also going to need a fluid, something to move fluids with, and I'll get that here in a second as well. But let's go ahead and we're just going to break open this right here. This is where our fluids are going to go. And then right here we're going to have our fluid placer that's going to sit right here. And basically all that this is going to do is it's going to get pumped mana from this. Is going to get pumped into the fluid placer and it's going to place it, right? And then over here we're going to have our fluid collector sitting right there. Then we're going to have our sensor and this thing. Let me open this up a little bit here. The sensor is going to set like that. Okay. And basically this little arrow is pointing to where the redstone is going to be coming out of this sensor at. So go ahead and just put a light source. And we're going to do a little bit of redstone work. I've got to pop up and get some redstone here in just a second. And then we're going to just build this up, and we're going to put our iron dropper. You could put this directly on top of that, but I'm not going to, just because I want to give it a little bit of space just so we can see into there. So the iron dropper is going to sit right there. And basically that way it can drop its blocks directly down. And then we're going to go ahead and configure this thing. We're going to say eject when pulsed, 5-tick pickup delay, exact velocity, which basically sends it directly down. And we're not going to do any sound effects or anything like that. Okay, and that should be good, I should think. And then what we're going to do is let's pop up, which actually this alchemical stuff I can dump into here for now because I don't need this or that. Oh, and our nodes, let's go ahead and set these up. And basically what we're going to have is on the fluid collector, we're going to have an input node. And so we'll put that right there. Our master routing node we're going to have setting right here. And then our output routing node is going to be setting right here. And then on this one, we're going to say it's going to be on the downside. You're going to have a fluid filter. And then on this one, it's going to be on the east side. You're going to have a fluid filter. And then that should be good. And so the next thing I want to do is I want to get some piping. And it doesn't have to be anything like super elaborate. If we, I'm sure we've got something in here like just some kind of conduits or advanced mechanical pipes. Those work too. Yeah, we'll just take those because that's what I've got available. And I also need our configurator. Yeah, I guess we will need it. I think we'll need it. I think so. I don't recall these tanks auto outputting. So, so what we're going to do is just have, let's see, our piping. We'll just do it like this. This is all behind the scenes because I don't want this stuff visible. And then we'll have our configurator setting right there. It's going to pull that stuff out. And, well, whoops. Okay, wait a second. Wait a second here. I got to turn this thing off. Let me get, because I forgot I haven't filtered that yet, which we're about to. We're about to do that. Let me get just a lever. I just want to get, yeah, I'm just going to get a stack of gold. Not like resources are hard to come by at all. And what we're going to do is, let's just put our redstone lever, our lever right there. And so then if I was to pull out a bucket, it doesn't fill it. Okay, great. That's what I want to see. So I've got to empty this thing back out real quick. Okay, and that should be good. And then what we're going to do is, let's see, I'm just going to craft this first one manually. So let's go ahead and make ourselves some gold nuggets. We'll toss one in, get that running. And there's our first bit of nacre. So whenever we pick that up, the fluid placer automatically drops another one, of course. And what we're going to do is, on this node, we're going to go ahead and add nacre to this. And this is basically going to output the nacre into that. And one thing we need to do is we need to connect all this up. So that to that, and that to that. And there's a reason we're going with nodes instead of just moving with mechanical pipes. Which we'll get into that here in just a second. And then we're going to add on this side, we're going to say on the downside nacre. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to set this and we're going to say 1. Okay. And you can see it says ghost item amount is 1. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add in, I'm going to have to make one more thing of that so that the fluid collector can grab it. I forgot I can't auto input stuff into that. But anyways, the nacre is going to go into there. Okay, so then if I release the redstone on this, The fluid collector grabs it, but you can see it keeps nacre in there. It keeps 1 millibucket of nacre. And so that way the fluid collector can never collect anything but nacre, because the nodes are telling it, well, you have to always leave at least 1 millibucket in there. So everything else, of course, will go into here. So that way it kind of filters this auto collector. Of course, like I said, you could do something with the sensors to have it detect if there is, nacre bucketed up. But setups like that, with the dispensers, they do have issues of their own. So I figured, well, we're already at the MV age. You don't really need auto nacre before that. So, until you really start getting into blood magic, you really don't need it. So I figured this setup, I quite like it, and it's going to be very self-controlled. So we don't have to worry about it ever messing up, or we shouldn't have to, unless something comes up, we shall see. But let's go ahead and convert the rest of these just to get the ingots out of my inventory, because these are all just going to get placed and built up. And I mean, you're talking, that's 9 stacks of nacre buckets. Or, so I mean, that's a whole lot of nacre. So we're going to eject when pulsed. Exact velocity, no effects. That sounds good. Okay, so now we need to get into the redstone side of things. And what we're going to do is this sensor, what it's going to detect is it's going to detect a fluid, 1 block in front of the sensor, at least 1 detected to match the sensor is fine. And what we're going to do is we are just going to grab a bucket of this and add that to that. Or no, I don't want nacre in that. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't want nacre in that. I want actually mana bucket in that. So you can see right now it says output is on. That means it's emitting a redstone signal. And so then what we can do is we're going to have a sequencer that comes out from that. And then what we're going to do is in our sequencer, we're going to set it to loop 4, which is loop the cycle when a redstone signal is present, restart on no signal. We're going to click in this first slot, and we're going to put the delay to, let's set the delay to 64. And of course, that would be just over 3 seconds, assuming it's at 20 TPS. We're going to do the delay as 4 to start with. And so basically every 4 ticks, it's going to do a sequence. We may bump that up. We're going to see here in just a second if we want to do that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to run our redstone conduits up like that. And then I need a wrench real quick. Some kind of a wrench. Crescent hammer would work just fine for doing this. So let's do that. Connect that up. And so here in just a second, this should get a pulse. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think we need redstone for this. I don't think it'll... if I recall, the redstone conduits won't connect directly into the sequencer. So you have to have redstone come out of the sequencer that carries the redstone signal out, and then the redstone conduit picks it up. So if we do that, that's going to connect up. Oh, and we need to change the colors on this. That's probably what the issue was, actually. So red, yeah, there we go. It just dropped. Let me actually put that up. And this should drop here in just a second. There we go. It's going to start converting, and let's make sure that it doesn't drop another gold nugget before it's done converting. There we go. And then it converts the next one. There we go. And the reason I have it on a sequencer, because, I mean, in theory, yeah, you could just have a sensor that comes up here, and then as soon as it gets a signal, it drops a gold nugget. But the reason we have the sequencer is if, in case we run out of gold nuggets, we don't want the whole system to back up or stop, because it would emit a pulse, and this is only running once per pulse, right? It ejects every time it's pulsed. So the sequencer prevents that. Basically, it just... In the event that it doesn't have a gold nugget, it just keeps cycling this. It sends a pulse, once every cycle. Well, it doesn't have a gold nugget. It can't drop it, so it could sit here and it can run until it finally does have a gold nugget. And with the sensor, we don't have to worry about running out of mana, because if it runs out of mana, it's not going to emit a redstone signal, so it's not going to drop any more gold nuggets. Because, for example, if I was to... let me go grab the configurator. We'll set this to pull. And you'll notice, I mean, this is crafting about as fast as it can because it's dropping the gold nugget immediately, and as soon as it crafts, it restarts that loop, so it just immediately drops another gold nugget into this. But it has all the checks available to make sure that, you know, it doesn't ever back up. I mean, everything's in, so we won't ever have to worry about that. That's the only concern is I'm standing here, but that's not a big deal. If I pick up a gold nugget, it's still just going to loop it again and drop another one. So there we go. That should be the last of the mana that gets dropped. And you'll notice that now it's not going to drop any gold nuggets. It's not outputting a redstone signal here at all. And it's sitting here at step 1 and not doing anything, right? Because it's restarting on no signal and it's just waiting for, it's in step -1, which means that loop's not even running at the moment. But then as soon as we got more mana, like from exploring and gathering up more mana, drops another one, and there goes another gold nugget, and it gets to crafting. And you can see we already have, there's 26,999 millibuckets. So, and yeah, that's working. And then eventually this will back up and we'll have, you know, 7,001 millibucket of Nacre, and then this will make Nacre, and it'll just sit here until there's space. Eventually, I mean, this dynamic tank's so big, that's not realistic that it's going to happen anytime soon. But once we automate mana production, it's a possibility that it might back up. So we could even take it a step further and say, well, if you don't have, which I don't know if that's something that I want to do, because I know we're going to need mana. Let's see, because we're going to need it for essential storage, unstable mana, which we're going to get into before too long. Yeah, and then there's fluid recipes, work table stuff, which we're going to get into the Jaded Amaranthus soon, so the petals aren't really all that important, but some of this stuff is kind of important. So, I mean, we could do something kind of similar. For right now, actually, I'm just going to run all of this mana, I guess, because I'm not sure how I want to handle that, because I'm not making unstable mana at the moment, and I'm not sure how much of that we're going to actually want. So, for right now, let's see, Nacre, I mean, I think it's mainly just used for the Nacre blocks, even though I do kind of want to use these for building, and I know I want to use arcane stone for building. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to leave that as is for now. Later on, what we might do is we might have another tank of mana for, either we're going to have another tank of mana for making the unstable mana stuff, or we're going to set a limiter and say, like, you know, you only make Nacre if you're above X amount on mana, you know. It might be how we do it, or keep so much Nacre, but eventually I want this tank filled with Nacre for looks. But a lot of that's gonna be reliant on us getting mana automated, because having to bucket it all up, you know, it's not realistic that we're ever going to fill these tanks bucketing it, or even with a pump. You know, I haven't been setting up a pump because it's just not worth the time investment to do that, but I don't know, we'll see. We might actually do something instead with like Steve's Factory Manager and say, you know, make Nacre every so many operations of making unstable mana, or, you know, something, and then only make those if you have above, say, 20,000 mana in this. But for right now, I'm just going to turn it all into Nacre because I need Nacre. But long term, we're going to make some kind of control limiter for that. And then we might also just change all this to A2 in due time as well. I'm not sure. But for right now, we're just going to turn it all into Nacre. Because if I find myself needing mana, it's easy enough for me to run out and fill, you know, a portable tank with mana. So, but yeah, I think that'll be good for the Nacre at least. Okay, and with that, I know we're about halfway through the episode, judging by the footage. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a shorter episode today, because this is going to come out in conjunction with the last server tour, and then we're going to have another episode tomorrow. And it's going to be a full hour-long episode, because the thing is, we have a lot to cover with thaumcraft, and I'd rather do it in like a dedicated episode or 2 dedicated episodes, instead of having the first half of this episode be the Nacre, and then we're moving into the key thaumcraft stuff. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to split that up, and we're just going to have this episode just be the Nacre setup, just for organization's sake, right? So we've got this up and running. That's great. We can make all the arcane stone we want. And then I was thinking about automating the Nacre blocks, but for right now I think I'm going to hold out on that. I'm not going to do that just yet. Because I think I want to do that with AE2 whenever we do the auto gold nuggets and stuff, and start handling that. I mean, it's no issue for me to take some stone, some gold nuggets, and a portable tank with Nacre and throw it all in the mixer and let it run, you know. Because the worst part is the in-world crafting, and that's auto, and I'm glad for that. So we're not going to handle that within this system. I don't believe. So I do believe I'm going to end out this episode here. Tomorrow will be another interactions episode, and we're going to hit thaumcraft, like I said, and we're going to be tackling the very important stuff. We're going to be moving into flux cleanup and stabilizers probably, and better smeltery stuff, essential smeltery, so we don't have to worry about just flux being pumped out into the world. Just things like that, you know, that are going to help us out a lot within thaumcraft. So, but this is going to make the arcane stone bricks easy enough moving forward with this and with blood magic. So anyways, I'm going to end out this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. And if you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe. I'll see you guys then.